These are the exercises for Futato chapter 18. Parse the following. We're going to be doing our familiar procedure. When we look at a verb form, the first thing I'm going to ask is, does it have a prefix? And then we will reason deductively based on that initial question to try to answer the question. There'll be a couple of verbs that you learned in this chapter though, that are going to be unusual, so you ought to be taking notes as to the odd verbs that he's giving you, because a lot of them are really frequently used, but I'll mention that when we get there. So number one here in section 18a, year ash, does this form have a prefix? Well, yes it does. The initial yod of the form is a prefix, and how do we know? Well, we know that because the next three consonants are a coherent lemma. It's a lemma we know from our vocabulary. Again, vocabulary is absolutely critical. So we have a yod prefix, we have no ending, no suffix ending on the form. So the fact that it's a yod prefix, any prefix, tells us it's imperfect, and we've only had the cal pattern. So we have a cal imperfect here, and since there's no ending, it's third masculine singular from the root yarash. Number two, yeled. Is the yod, the initial yod, a prefix? Do we have a prefix or not? Well, if you read through the chapter and you watched my overview, you know the answer to that is yes. That yod is a prefix. How do we know? We know because it is accompanied by tsera. In this chapter, we talked about, Futato talked about first yod verb forms, and some of them are regular in terms of their pattern. That would be number one, the one we just did, year ash. You have a consonant prefix plus three consonant lemma. Other first yod forms, though, are not regular. So the only way that you can tell there is the tsera. You're only going to have a tsera vowel on a prefix when you are dealing with a first yod lemma. Okay, and that's what we have here. The tsera gives it away. So we know it's imperfect, we know it's cal, and there's no ending, so this also has to be cal imperfect third masculine singular from the root yalad. Number three, yokal. Is there a prefix? Yes, there is. The yod is a prefix because the next three consonants are a coherent lemma. There's no ending, so this is cal imperfect third masculine singular from akal. Number four, do we have a prefix? Yes, we do. The first yod there is a prefix. We know that because the next three consonants are a coherent lemma that we know from our vocabulary. So we have a yod prefix, we have an ending, in this case the long U ending, so that can only be a cal imperfect third masculine plural. Number five, a lake. Is the aleph a prefix? Yes, it is. It's a prefix because it's one of the letters that are prefixed. Okay, you have yod, tav, aleph, and nun. But the dead giveaway is the tsera. You have the possible prefix consonant with a tsera, and that is the dead giveaway that it's an imperfect form. So the aleph is a prefix. And we know because it's aleph that it's first common singular, cal imperfect. The only question here is the lemma. And the lemma here is halak. If you recall from the chapter, halak is one of those unusual verbs. It behaves like a first yod verb. So you need to remember that. You need to write these odd ones down. Like lakak, in several chapters ago, we learned behaves like a first nun verb, even though it's not. Natan is doubly weak. It'll have the first nun, and then the second nun will at times assimilate into the suffix. I'm saying doubly weak because two things can happen to it. I'm not using that term in a technically correct sense, but we'll try to use that vocabulary. Now we have in fact a natan form in number 6. We were looking at this. I would ask the same thing: do we have a prefix? Is that nun a prefix? And you'd think, well, nun could be a prefix. That's one of the four consonants that could be. But there are some things that argue against that. The primary one is the ending. You have a T ending, the tav and the yod, and that is a dead giveaway for a first common singular perfect form. Again, this is, I hope you're seeing the importance of having the prefixes and the suffixes for these verb patterns, the cal, memorized cold, because you will use them to pick your way through other forms. So we know from that we've got a perfect. The noon here is not a prefix, it's part of the lemma. So what would the lemma be? Noon, tav, and then we have our ending. Well, this is from Natan. The final noon of Natan has assimilated into the t or the tav of the suffix. Again, Natan is just one that you're going to have to write down and think about every time we come across a Natan form, sort of store it away in your mind what it does, because the verb means to give. I mean, it means a lot of different things. It's used a couple hundred times. It shows up a lot. So you're going to be seeing Natan many times. So cal perfect, first common singular. Number 7, karat tem. Do we have a prefix? Well, absolutely not. There's no question here, because kaf is never going to be a prefix in a verb situation. So what do we do? Well, tem, we should know by this point, is the dead giveaway for the second masculine plural perfect. Now, if that's the case, then what's our lemma? Kaf, resh. Do we have a karan? That kind of thing. No, we don't have that lemma, but we do have karat. Futato brought up this verb in this chapter, kaf, resh, tav, noting that the tav at the end of the lemma will, again, sometimes assimilate into the t ending or consonantal endings, consonantal suffixes in verb forms. And that's what's going on here. So we have a cal perfect. There's no prefix. Second masculine plural. We get that from the tem ending. And the root, the lemma, is karat. Number 8, nate say. Is the noon here a prefix? You should answer instantly yes. Why? Because it's accompanied by the tsere vowel. Tsere vowel with a prefix is the sign of an imperfect of a first yod lemma. So if we have a first yod lemma here, the lemma would be yatsa, which is very familiar to us. So now we can parse this. The noon prefix could only be first common plural of cal imperfect from yatsa. Number 9, tir ah. Do we have a prefix with the tav there? Yes, we do. We know that because the next 3 consonants are a coherent lemma. So we have the tav prefix. There's no ending, so that could be one of 2 things, either a third feminine singular, cal imperfect, or a second masculine singular, cal imperfect, from yara. Number 10, yatain. Now here's, again, the difficult one is the yod prefix. Well, again, you go through your check down list. Well, it could be it's one of the consonants, one of the right consonants, but there's no tsere here, so don't get any help there. We have yatain. So if the yod is a prefix, let's just assume that, then the last 2 consonants of the lemma would be tav or noon, or the first 2 consonants would be tav or noon. So we don't have a tana. We don't have that situation. That wouldn't be what we would expect with a third hey verb form anyway. So the only real alternative is that we've lost a first consonant. And of course, now by now we know that this is a form of Natan. The noon of Natan has assimilated into the tav right here, the second consonant of the lemma. The noon has moved in there. It's indicated by the dagesh dot. Every time you see a dagesh dot after a full vowel sound, you should get suspicious because there's probably some assimilation or something going on there. But we have here a yod prefix of Natan. That means it's cal imperfect. There's no ending, so it has to be third masculine singular. Again, this is how you just have to pick your way through parsing. Translation of weak roots. Again, we're going to have to do the same thing here. I'll do it a little more speedily. You're going to have to parse these verb forms and then translate them. So number 1, we have yomaru. Do we have a prefix? Obviously, yes. We have the u, the long u ending. So that's third masculine plural from amar, and so we translate they will say. Number 2, teshev. Do we have a prefix? Is the tav here a prefix? Yes, it is. How do we know? We know it because of the tsera. That tells us we have a first yod lemma, which means the lemma is yashav, again, to sit or to dwell or to live. And so we have a choice here with the single tav prefix and no ending. Could be either she or you will dwell, third singular or second singular. Number 3, neda. Is the noon here a prefix? Yes, it is. How do we know? Because it's the right consonant and it's accompanied by tsera. That means our lemma is first yod, which means the lemma here is yada. And the noon prefix can only be the first common plural of cal imperfect. So we will know. Number 4, natati. We've just had that. I gave, its first common singular, perfect form from natan. Number 5, yirah. We just had that. So we have he will fear, yirah. So again, yod prefix, no ending, has to be third masculine singular, cal imperfect. Number 6, irash. Is the aleph a prefix? Yes, it is. We know that because the next 3 consonants are a coherent lemma. So we have a cal imperfect first common singular from yirash. So we translate I will inherit. Number 7, yetzeu. Do we have a prefix? Is the yod a prefix here? Yes, it is. How do we know? Because it's accompanied by a tsera and it's the right consonant. So we have yod prefix, long U ending, that's third masculine plural from yatsa, they will go out. Number 8, tir'u. Is the tav a prefix? Yes, it is. How do we know? Because the next 3 consonants are a coherent lemma. We have a U ending, so we've got U plural, will fear. It's an imperfect. Number 9, tivshi. Is the tav a prefix? Yes, it is. How do we know? Again, I'm being repetitive here to reinforce this is what you do. We know it's an imperfect prefix because the next 3 consonants are a lemma that we know. Again, vocabulary absolutely critical. So we have tav prefix, hirik yod ending, which is second feminine singular, imperfect. So you will wither, or you will dry up. And number 10, elaid. Is the aleph a prefix? Yes, it is. How do we know? We know because of the tsera. Tells us that our lemma is a first yod, yalad. So first common singular, cal imperfect from yalad is I will bear children, in context, of course. Number 11, karat ta. Again, we just had something similar before with karat. So the ta ending is a perfect ending, second singular. It's not an imperfect, so we would translate this you cut. Number 12, tokal. Tav. Do we have a prefix? Yes, we do, because the next 3 consonants are a coherent lemma. So we have either she or you will eat. Number 13, natat tem. The tem should be a dead giveaway. The dagesh in the tav in the ending should make the lights go off, because if we know we have a tem, second masculine plural perfect ending, that must mean that the third consonant of the lemma, nun tav something, must mean the third consonant of the lemma has assimilated into the ending, and really the only thing that's going to do that we've had so far is natan. So we have you, again masculine plural, you plural gave. It's a perfect form. 14 is, I think, the trickiest one in the bunch here. You would have to remember something specific from Futato chapter 18. We have Omar. Is the aleph a prefix or not? Again, you would have to remember that with first aleph verbs in the cal imperfect first common singular, where the prefix is also an aleph, you would expect a double aleph here, like aleph, aleph, mem, resh. But that does not happen. One of the alephs disappears. And so this aleph here is in fact a prefix. So it's cal imperfect first common singular. Now, again, I've told you to not worry about the vowel markings. You might get a clue here, though, because of the O vowel, Omar. I mean, you can see down here with to cal, when you have that O vowel to begin with after the prefix, that's going to be typical of an imperfect form. when there's a prefix present. So that might be able to be something that you could use in addition to just what Futato told you about the first olive verbs in the imperfect. That might help you to remember, the presence of the O vowel there. Number 15, telek is the ta of a prefix. Yes, it is. We know that because of the tsera that goes along with it. That means we have an imperfect form. The lemma there, again, would be, you're thinking, okay, that means I have a first yod lemma, yalak. Well, we don't have yalak, but then you'd have to remember, we have halak, and that behaves just like a first yod verb. So here we have either she or you will walk. Suffix review, he just wants you to give the person, gender, and number of the suffixes. So first one he gives you, the hierarch yod suffix malki, it's first common singular. Malko, the holem vav, is third masculine singular. We have malka, again the comets and the hay with the mapik in the hay is third feminine singular suffix. Malkenu, enu is the suffix, first common plural. And then malkam, the comet's final mem, is third masculine plural. A few more. Malkaka, again the final kaf with the comets inside of it. That's going to be second masculine singular for sure. Kem is going to be second masculine plural. Aik, again final kaf with no vowel in it, is second feminine singular. Ken, second feminine plural. And malkan, this is third feminine plural. Translation. We'll go through these slowly. Again, I'll be showing you what the English is anyway, at least approximating what Futato has, if not getting pretty close, maybe identical in a lot of these to what he has. So we have Ze Hayom Asher Asa Adonai. Now, number of elements here are pretty easy. We have Ze, okay, that's a demonstrative. Hayom, definite article plus noun. Asher, relative pronoun. Asa, verb form. And then Adonai, the divine name. So we have, the first thing we really need to decide here is, do we have, when we have Ze Hayom, do we have this day or this is the day? If you remember back to how you translate demonstratives, they're translated just like adjectives. And so with the adjectives, you had an attributive relationship, and to translate that or to have that relationship, you need the adjective, and of course in this case the demonstrative and the noun need to agree in gender, number, and definiteness. We do not have an agreement in definiteness here. Ze is all by itself. It does not have a definite article. So this wouldn't be this day, it would be this is the day, and then asher, that or which the Lord has made. Our verb form, of course, is cal perfect, third masculine singular. There's just no prefix here. Now we have natata, which we had in the parsing. So that we know is you give or you gave. Again, it's perfect. And then we have sifri la'adon habayit. So you gave what? You gave sifri. It's sefer plus a suffix. First common singular suffix. You gave my book. And then we have a lamed. We have lamed and then a noun and then another noun with a definite article. So we have noun, noun. So when we have noun, noun, we should be thinking construct relationship. So we do have, you gave my book to the master of the house. Now the reason it's the master is because the second element in the construct relationship is definite, habayit. So you gave my book to the master of the house. Number 3, we have Yir'u avdei malchem hachachamim et Adonai. So verb form is in first position. Again, we have a prefix, then we have coherent lemma, so we know this is a prefix, followed by the long U, so that we know that's going to be a cal imperfect third masculine plural. So, they will fear or something like that. But we have to ask ourselves, since we know it's third masculine plural, is there a noun that's going to be functioning as the subject of this verb? And we do. We have right here, we have avdei, which is servants. It's the masculine plural construct form. So we know we have a construct relationship here. And we know that anyway, noun, noun. Again, think construct. And then we have the second noun that's suffixed. And then we have hachachamim, an adjective. So what do we do with all this? Well, one of the things we need to get down, and I'm not sure that Futato is actually clear on this, but we said earlier that when you have a construct relationship and the second noun is definite, that makes the first noun definite. So we really have here the servants of your king, though. So the servants. And you say, well, how is Malchem definite? There's no definite article out here. Well, this is the part I don't know that Futato is really clear about. When you take a noun and you add a suffix to it, that makes the noun definite. Illustration. If it was just Melech here, king, that would just be any king, a king. Okay, but as soon as you add a suffix and make it your king or his king or my king, then the noun king becomes specific. It becomes definite. So when you have a noun that takes the suffix, that's a definite, semantically definite noun. So we have the servants of your king. Now we have this adjective. Notice the adjective is plural, has a definite article. So what does the adjective modify? Well, is it going to? It has to modify the plural noun here, avdei. And you say, well, is it attributive? Because I don't see a definite article out here in front of avdei. You know, they have to agree in gender, number, definiteness. Well, then it should ring in your head. No, wait a minute. Avdei is definite because it's in a construct relationship to noun number 2, and noun number 2 is definite. When noun number 2 is definite, then its definiteness gets transferred or shared with the first noun. So that's why in the translation we have the wise servants of your king will fear, there's our verb, the Lord. And that's how we get there. Number 4, Yetzeu ha'anashim ha'eleh me'ir ha'melech ha'gadol. Well, our verb form, again, first position. Do we have a prefix? Yes, we do. How do we know? Because of the tsera under the prefix consonant. We know, therefore, it's from yatzah. And here's our plural subject. We have ha'anashim. And then we also have ha'eleh. So we have a demonstrative. Remember, demonstratives function like adjectives. So we have here definiteness with eleh. We have definiteness with this noun. So we have an attributive relationship here. So if we turn on the translation here, that's why we have these men, and then our verb masculine plural, will go out, me'ir, from, and then we have ir hamelech. We have a noun, and then we have another noun. There's our construct relationship, and the second noun is definite, which means its definiteness is shared with the first noun in translation. So we have from the city of the king, but we have another adjective here. So, what are we going to do? Well, if we remember that city is feminine, and that's something we'd have to remember here. Actually, it's probably easier to just say we know that king is masculine. We know this form is masculine, hagadol, because there's no feminine ending on the adjective. So we know we have from the city of the great king, as opposed to from the great city of the king. Great right here is going to go with the masculine noun of these two, and that is definitely hamelech. So we've got here the city of the great king. Number 5, we have Yesharim divrei hanavi hachu. Then we have midivrei ha'ish harasha. Number of things here to watch out for. We've got, let's just turn the translation on so you can follow this. Our verb form is where? Guess what? We don't have a verb. All that and we don't have a verb. It's kind of startling. What do we have here with yashar? We have a plural of yashar. Well, yashar is an adjective. So we have a plural adjective. Then we have a noun, construct plural. We have another noun, hanavi, prophet. Then we have a demonstrative. Then we have min plus divrei, min plus another plural noun and construct. Here's another noun, and here's an adjective. We don't have a verb in the whole thing. So this is going to be a little tricky. Now, let's start with the adjective. Start with our word in first position. The first thing we want to know is this adjective partnered with a noun attributively, or is it a predicative situation? Well, there's no definite article here. There's no definiteness to the adjective right here. So that's a clue that this is predicative. So we have the words of the prophet, then we have hahu, and again, demonstrative functions just like an adjective. And it's clearly singular, it's clearly definite. So we have the words of that prophet, and then we have our predicative relationship. The words of that prophet are being described predicatively by this adjective. That's why the translation is the words of that prophet are correct. They are right. They are straight. Again, we don't have definiteness to this adjective, so we don't have like the straight words or the right words. We have a predicative relationship here, so we have to supply in English the to be verb. So the words of that prophet are correct, but then it's not just are correct, because here we have a min and then words of the wicked man. Okay, so we have here literally, woodenly, the words of that prophet are correct from the words of the wicked man. Well, this is the comparative min, which is why the translation is what it is. They are more correct than. You have to translate min comparatively to get to the translation. Number 6, a shave bebeit Adonai la'olam. So a shave, do we have a prefix there? Yes, we do. How do we know? Because of the tzera. That tells us the aleph is a prefix, which tells us the lemma is yashav. Okay, so that's really the only difficulty here. If the aleph is a prefix, it's first common singular in cal imperfect. So I will live, beveit Adonai la'olam, in the house of the Lord, and then la'olam is forever. But in the house of the Lord. Here we have preposition, noun, noun. We have two nouns here, construct relationship, house of Adonai, house of the Lord. And since Adonai, Yahweh, is definite, it makes the first noun definite. So we have in the house of the Lord. Number 7, Nikach et zahav ha'am, hechazak hazeh, el, and then we have ahalenu, or ohalenu. Again, you're going to see why I'm doing that in a second here. But the first word is a verb, nikach, first position. And this is the one, again, this is tricky. He gives you a tricky one here, nikach. You'd have to remember that the lemma lakach functions just like a first noon verb. And again, even the the vowels are a little weird here. Again, even though I've been telling you not to worry about them, but just like any verb, you'd have to ask, well, is the noon here a prefix? Well, it's the right consonant. It could be. If it is a prefix, what would the lemma be? Kak, kakar. The only thing you have is lakak. And so if you remembered that and you observe the dagesh in the kof, you would know, okay, this would be like having nil kak. And this is an a vowel because this is a guttural. Okay, so you would be able to get there, again, if you knew the lemma. That's really the tricky part. So we have a first common plural cal imperfect from lakak. So it's we will take. And the rest of that is pretty straightforward. So we will take, here's our direct object marker. We have the gold of this strong people. So now look at this. Here's a direct object marker. Here's gold. There's a noun, noun, gold of the people, gold of the people. We have noun, noun, think construct. Whenever you have two nouns together, you're going to be thinking construct relationship. And the second noun in this construct relationship is definite. It has a definite article. So it's the gold of the people. But now we have an adjective and we have a demonstrative. It's like having a second adjective, like two adjectival things right in a row. This one, we have to our tent. This is from ohel, and then enu added here. Ohel is tent, enu our tent. So ohalenu. But what do we do with this part? Well, if they're both sort of like adjectives, how do we look at that? We'll look at them closely. We have kazak with a definite article. It's he because it's before the guttural chet. And we have hazeh, definite. So they're both definite, and the noun is definite. So they both go with the noun attributively, which is why we have the translation, this strong people. So we will take the gold of this strong people to our tent. It's a little tricky. There's a lot to think about there. Number 8, Teled Isha Banim Uvanot. So first word is a verb form. Again, Teled. Again, you should sort of be alerted to it by the fact that you have a tav, again, and a tzera. And especially in this chapter, you'd be thinking, okay, that's probably going to be one of those weird first yod verb forms, and it is. Do we have a prefix? Yes, we do. How do we know? Because of the tzere. And that means we have a first yod lemma, which would be yalad, which is to bear. So isha, let's turn on our translation, a woman. Again, there's no definite article here. And this is a little tricky here. Watch this, because here you have noun, noun, conjunction, noun. Now you'd think noun and noun, think construct. Isha banim, a woman of sons. Well, not only does that not make sense, think about it, a woman of sons, but this is a feminine singular noun, isha. If this was in construct to the next noun, what should you have here? You would have the final he consonant changed to a t. Remember, construct forms in feminine singular end with tav. So that tells you do not have a construct here. Your verb form can be third feminine singular, and here we have a feminine noun, so that would help too. So we have a woman will bear, will give birth to, and now we have banim uvanot, sons and daughters. Makes much more sense. So the tricky part here is these two nouns next to each other. Again, you have to think about what you're looking at, what you're seeing. Number 9, telek derek haberit asher karati be'avika. So, first word is a verb. Is the tav a suffix? Yes, it is. We know that because the tzera tells us that this is a first yod verb, yalak. Well, wait a minute. We don't have yalak, but we do have halak, which behaves just like first yod. So now we know what the lemma is. We know what the parsing is. So either she or you will walk bederek, okay, in, and we have way of the covenant. This one, we have noun, noun, construct, relationship. Second one's definite. So in the way of the covenant, which karati, t again is a dead giveaway for first common singular perfect, and there is no prefix here. It's from karat. Remember, this is one of the odd ones. Karat, the tav of karat, the last consonant of the lemma will assimilate into perfect consonantal endings. So, which I cut, and this would be be'avika, with your father. So you will walk in the way of the covenant which I made with your father. We have preposition, bet, and then we have av, father, and then ka, the suffix, your father. Remember, Av is a little unusual. It adds this yod here, avika, before the suffixes. Hebrew Bible excerpts. Ve'im reshaim lo eshev. You have and then im is with, preposition. Reshaim, we have an adjective, wicked, that's plural. Lo, and then eshev. Okay, is the aleph here a prefix? Yes, it is. We know that because of the tzera. It comes from yashav. So now we should be able to translate it. And I will not sit or live. I will not sit or I will not live with wicked ones. Okay, now literally we would do it this way: and with wicked ones I will not live. But I put it in English over here, a little more readable. Psalm 26. So number 2, et biti natati la'ish hazeh. Okay. This, we've had all these words already. I gave, and then direct object, biti. It's we have bat with the suffix. I gave my daughter la'ish to the man. Notice the comets here underneath the lamed, and it's comets because of the aleph. Again, this is a definite article, and normally it would be patak with the hirek, or excuse me, with the dagesh in the next consonant, but we don't have that here because this is a guttural, so it lengthens. So I gave my daughter to the man. Okay, it's definite, but then we have hazeh. So we have definite, again, agreement in gender, number, and definiteness. So it's to this man. Number 3, Belohim batakti lo ira. Well, we have preposition bet with Elohim. Then we have batak. Do we have a prefix? No, we don't. So we have a clear lemma here. T is first common singular ending. Lo is the negator, and then ira. Do we have a prefix? Yes, we do. The aleph. We know that because the next 3 consonants are a coherent lemma. So now we should be able to follow the translation and produce the translation. So, Belohim, in God, batakti, I trust. Lo ira, I will fear not. I will not fear. Number 4, Yeda ami shemi. First word here. Do we have a prefix right here with the yod? Yes, we do, because of the tzera. It tells us it's a first yod lemma, and the lemma is yada, but it's still, again, the prefix. And then ami, we have noun there with a suffix, and then we have shemi, another noun with a suffix, and he gives you that one. Shem is name. So we have here the let me get my cursor here. Third masculine singular. Okay, cal imperfect from yada, so he or it or she will know. And in this case, we have the subject is my people. It's a collective noun that is the subject of this verb. So my people will know shemi, my name. That's the end of the video, so the end of the exercises for Futato, chapter 18.